the schools that are opening and closing.
Yeah, that was an interesting article.
Accurate, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I just brought it because
Yeah, no, I think the DNC is going to do some good work with this.
Yeah, we had them with us for the last couple of,
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
well, one meeting of mine and then one of the schools committee. And
I
you,
got an email from that one man who writes for the Democrats.
okay.
He would try to get here.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Let's see, what do we got? It's about 25
John.
of.
Is this a walk-in item? I have a question again about the city rec.
Yeah, we'll.
Okay.
We might as well talk about it now. I guess we aren't going to have the folks from Flint Street coming over because that was delayed, the renovations there, and they were.
How do you mean they were going to run things?
Well, the city runs the Flint Street Rec Center.
Right.
And it was going to get closed for a year, and when I had talked to Eric Rose a year ago, they were going to switch those people over to 16 and hopefully in the process be able to hunt up some extra funding to keep 16 open when Flint Street reopened, but not working out that way. They were short of money, I guess, and delayed the renovations. And,
At Flint Street.
At Flint Street. And
So they're not going to renovate?
well, they're
Right.
putting it off for a year at least. And as it turned out, when I talked to Adam, if they have Quad A over at 16, they wouldn't be able to have the rec center also, because he'd need the
Quad
cafe.
A is,
Quad A is an after-school program where the kids get 3 hours of enrichment. So if it's
and that's on the
might
city,
run
and
three.
that's on the city school district?
Yeah,
I think it's only in 3 schools.
yeah. He's only got it in a few of the schools, and I don't recall just where he gets that funding from. Do you know? But
Well, I think some comes from the city school district, but then some is also raised,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, they might get
So it's
some
like a
from the
partnership.
children's agenda.
So 16 would have it
yeah,
16 has had it,
in the past?
well, last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before.
Oh, okay.
But always at the location they're at now. And it isn't, not all of the kids go. Can't remember what fraction the kids go, but not all of them.
So that, if that was there, then you couldn't have city rec because there was not enough space?
yeah.
You
Well,
wouldn't
they,
need them. It's one or the other, I think is the idea.
yeah, I guess there are some restrictions from the Quad A organization, whatever this umbrella this falls under, that it has to be kids from that school, and there are restrictions, and you couldn't in parallel have kids from the neighborhood just wander in.
Quad A people are not from the neighborhood?
They're from the neighborhood, but they're also attending the school. They're not going to some school somewhere else and then coming
okay.
to Quad A here. And so if we had a rec center operating during the same part of the year that the Quad A did, it'd have to start after Quad A finished. So you'd be probably 6:30, 7 o'clock before they could start the rec center, which might be okay in early fall and late spring, but
Not in the winter.
not too well in the winter because it'd be getting pretty late. Anybody else?
So,
I keep looking over
so
there,
that
so
means
for-
city rec has not been even approached or anything?
Oh, they've been approached. I had, sent
They were
an
at
email.
these meetings last year.
Yeah, we had originally, I had originally approached Eric Rose, and he had assigned the manager from the Roxy Sinkler,
Oh,
the Gardner Center there. And he came to several of our meetings. And the last meeting he came to before he retired, because he was retiring, he mentioned that Flint Street wasn't going to be renovated, and it might be somebody from Adams Street that came over, because maybe some work was going to get done there.
Adams Street.
Adams Street Rec Center.
Adams Street
Number
is supposed
3.
to have they're supposed to have the whole swim locker rooms redone. They're pretty bad, they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been delayed for a few years now.
So do they give you a reason?
I don't know.
I guess I'm wondering, who makes these decisions? Is it the school board?
No,
No.
no.
The
Well,
ci-
that's city.
The city?
Yeah,
It's the city's
yeah.
resources, so they would make the decision.
Well, actually, in that particular case, there
They're
was
not.
capital funds allocated to that. That's why I was kind of keeping an eye on
Ah.
it.
But
Okay.
they're not going to do it.
It still is under the city's control, even though some school money was being used. Yeah, it's according to their facilities people and their capital improvement people, and
Under the city.
right.
So, how could we turn that around? I mean,
I mean, I would just ask the question, I guess.
Mhm.
But, maybe they have a good reason. I don't know.
Yeah, from what I heard back from Eric Rose is that it's not in the budget this year. And of course, we had heard that Flint Street wasn't getting renovated this year, so that probably got put off because of budget issues. And then it's a question of,
John, I
yeah.
mean, what a way, like, I'm just explaining, what a way to run a railroad. I mean,
well, you always have to pay your way, you
of
know.
course. But I mean, don't they allocate, say, in 2 years or 3 years? Don't they do that when they're planning things?
Well, they try to.
But then what happens?
The budget changes.
The budget, they don't get enough money?
Right. And these are on a cycle where you either do it 1 year or the next year. You can't really do things in the middle of the year, unfortunately.
No, 1 year or the next year.
Yeah,
But it seems like things get put off. That's how it looks.
yeah.
They are.
And, but that's because they don't have enough money. Does that mean people are not paying their taxes or something?
Well, it could be some company that isn't doing as well as had been expected, or some
So
people
we don't
moved
really-
out of town.
We don't really know. I mean, I don't mean we, I mean, does the public really know?
Why it's being delayed?
Well, I mean, not just this, but I mean, when those things happen, do they explain that to the public? I don't know.
Well, there's,
Well, actually, Mitch Gruber and
Mitch Gruber, he used to do something else.
well, he still does Food Link.
Does what?
Food Link. He works at Food Link, but he's city council now.
No, but he used to do something else, but I can't remember what it was. Okay, he works at Food Link.
Yeah, but he was going to have like a community meeting with he. He was on the school board,
Malik.
Malik,
yeah.
and the other newcomer to the school board, or to the city council. We're going to have a open house.
Did they do
Willie
that?
Lightfoot.
Yeah, it was Willie. Yeah. No, it hasn't happened yet.
And do we know the purpose of
Yeah,
that?
it's just so they can get some feedback from their constituents.
About what they want?
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that's about what they're going to do. Let me see if I still have the email.
I appreciate looking up. People that are in the know what's going on, but it looks like the rest of the citizens don't.
Well, budgets are always something. Of course, sometimes they use it as an excuse to not do things, but
Who does is that the city? The city does the budget, right?
yeah, for the city, and the
The
school
school.
does it for the school. But there are some parts of what what the school, for instance, some of the money they use is from grants, And
This is from the school?
From the state. So you think you know what they're going to give you next year, but
It could change.
it could change.
The state.
And you might not get the grants that you were expecting.
Neat.
I think they've gotten better in the last 10 years or so. It used to be that they would have teacher layoffs almost every year, and I think they've been a lot better in the more recent past than they used to be. Is that your impression from?
Yeah, well, the enrollment has been shrinking, and we've still been getting some more money every year, so the pressure isn't there as much as there is the alarm and the gap and everything that's announced every year. I don't think the pressure is quite as high in terms of maintaining what we have.
Okay.
But even if enrollment is shrinking, the tax base would stay the same, or would it?
Well, that's a whole complicated question when you talk about the Rochester City School District, because it's dependent financially on the city. It's different than most other, urban, rural or suburban districts. The big 5 cities are
In the
fiscally dependent on the city to manage their
School.
the funds.
Yeah, they get a fixed fund each year in Rochester.
In Rochester, it's $119 million every year from the city, rather than a calculation based on taxes.
It sounds like that doesn't work, but I don't know. You don't want to.
It's complicated. Because we get much more money from the state, not from property taxes, but from state funds, because we're so high need and so poor in terms of tax base. So we get the majority of funds from the state.
Come here.
Differently than like Fairport, where it's like predominantly from their property taxes.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of money that's grant funded, like John was saying. There's federal grants, there's state grants, there's other grants.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wouldn't hurt the newspaper to go into that, would it? To
No.
explain all that.
No.
Now here's for the Mitch and Malik and Willie. They're having a meet your new council members, September 12th, at the Danforth Community Center.
Well, if we showed up, what would that? Just to listen to what they had to say.
Well,
And that's for the whole community, for the whole city? Or is that like a geographically,
well, it's
like is there a series of them?
there's 2 on there that they've got down. One is at Danforth, and one's at the Ryan Center,
Okay. When is the Ryan Center?
October 1st,
And they're at, what times are they at?
6:30 to 8.
And what is this supposed to be about?
Meeting your council member.
But it's not supposed to be about the schools, or is it?
No.
generally
city.
No.
City.
But the question you've been having about budgets is something to ask them about, whether they're just getting into it or not into it.
Yeah, the city budgets would, variation in local taxes would affect the rec centers and stuff like that. Because it's fixed for the city schools, that shouldn't impact them unless they really are in deep doo-doo and can't make the 115 million. But
Well, it used to be that the city had budget hearings on different things, and they took one whole week to have these.
They still do that.
They still do
Yeah.
that. So when do they do the one? When is that week? Do we know?
It's usually in May, right? It's
May.
I don't know.
Is it?
Yeah, it's before they adopt the budget. It's like leading up to the adoption of the budget.
The
Okay.
fiscal year, June to June or something.
So they already had this, so
Mhm.
things are already
Mhm.
allocated. But has that been in the newspaper?
Yes, that's
Here.
what's. Well, I'm always seeing it. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I haven't. No. How could I get a copy? Call the newspaper? Get
For
a
their
copy?
article?
Well, I mean, people ask me, well,
You
where
could
do
get
they?
the actual budget documents
Oh,
if
those
you want
are
to sift through those.
those are terrible. I don't.
Well, that's why
I don't
there's
think
not
I.
always a ton of. It's not always the greatest opportunity to like get a big picture because that means you have to study for a long time if you want to get a picture of what's going on based on the budget. Just like starting from nowhere, like you're just a public citizen who's interested, it would take studying, like a lot of studying to like parse it and then generate questions. But if you have a topic that is of interest to you, like maybe the rec centers, then you go to the budget at budget key times and you investigate what's happening with it. And then you can advocate if you want to on that.
At that hearing, you mean?
Or before, or like now you can say, look, it didn't get in the budget. We want to make sure that next year, as you start planning in October and November for your next year budget, do a better job.
Send them an email, leave them a message.
Yeah,
Same
hound
as
them.
Congressman,
Now, who are they? Who do we hound?
city council.
The council people, your representatives, yeah.
So if you
If it's a
run-
council issue, if it's a school board issue, then
Yeah.
your school board members. Or
Well-
really, in that case, the superintendent and
the chiefs and
you find out who like the key person is, and then you also observe the dynamics, whether somebody is. I mean, this is why it's not that easy to participate.
Cold blood. I see that. I mean, I kind of vaguely see what you're trying to
I mean,
do.
you can understand like what the lines should be, but then you also can see who just gives you the okie doke and doesn't even relay anything versus genuine public servants, public-minded, serious people who will then see, oh yes, that really makes sense, and also be moved by some pressure.
I don't. You're,
It can be done though.
it could be. You,
That's why you guys, I mean, small group of people that keep at it have made a huge difference in
Right.
School 16 and what's happening. It works.
Yeah, I had questions for Mike Schmidt, and he got back to me by email on one set of questions, and then called me at 8 o'clock this morning, smirking a little bit. It was early, but
who was this?
Mike Schmidt.
He's
Oh,
the
that guy, the head man or whatever.
He's great. He works
head of
next to the
operations.
gun. He was leaving on vacation or something, but he got back to me on the questions. So what did he find out about the rec center? And when he had talked to folks in the city, that it didn't sound like it's in the budget for this year. Now we, trying to get back to the
Well,
agenda a little
thank
bit.
you for answering.
Oh, no
I
problem.
mean, I just.
Now, School 10, the only thing I've got new is, we know that it's going to be out for 2 years instead of 1, and I heard back from Lee Loomis, who's been real good at keeping us in the loop. He's been traveling a lot, but he's still working at trying to make sure he keeps the volunteers, involved with the school while it's away for 2 years up at Marshall.
They're going to put them in Marshall, house them there.
Yeah, the kids are going to be in Marshall for 2 years and then come back to the renovated School 10.
I would add something, I don't know if we're doing notes or whatever, but I would say for School 10 update is that there's an unfortunately large number of teachers that are turning over. I don't know whether anyone else has told you that, but I believe there's 7 or 8 teachers leaving, including some really, really good ones.
Yeah, that's the first I've
Leaving
heard of
for-
anything.
Other positions, some of them are going to School 41,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
there was a big
going to be
draw
like a fresh
there.
start and exciting, culture building, where they had liberty at 41 to probably seek out some of the strongest teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Well,
yeah.
So School 10 gets 8 new people, new to them.
Don't write 8 because I think it's
Uncertain.
somewhere in that.
More than a handful.
More than a handful,
More than-
definitely more than a handful, and it includes some of our top teachers.
Yeah, and that probably was a draw on School 44 also, which has lost several teachers.
School 44.
Yeah, of course, a lot of that is the fact that they've gotten kind of mistreated by the administration for several years. But
Somebody I was with this morning was like, brought that up. They had watched the that last school board video where I just was going off about it, and so I had put that aside for
somebody said, "Hey, what was that about?"
I don't know how you do what you do.
I don't. I quit.
Oh, did you?
Was that what? No, you were quitting that
No,
day
I didn't
anyways.
want that to be. I didn't want that at all.
Yeah, you
I
were
wanted
hoping
it
to
to
go
be
out
completely positive. No, I really did.
beat. Yeah.
It was unfortunate.
This was on a video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
board
you can
meeting.
watch it. You can watch it. I'll send you the link.
Oh, got that. John, I am taking the course, you know.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good.
I'm here every Monday now
Oh,
with
very
Ann, who is a genius.
good.
Right. And I guess she helps a lot of people.
Okay, on.
Dr. Cooper had his 90th birthday, and that was celebrated at the moving up ceremony.
Oh,
That's
good.
another thing that's
cool.
Now, who in God's name is he?
Dr. Walter Cooper.
Never heard of him.
He was the first black PhD chemist and worked for Eastman Kodak.
Oh, okay. Chemist.
And the school town is named after him, Dr. Walter Cooper Academy. And so he's still, unlike a lot of people who are named after like a dead
Yeah.
legend,
He's
he's a
live.
living legend and he's involved. And
Neat
he's
guy.
amazing. Yeah.
Good.
Better memory than me.
I see. And he got his
Genius.
his degree around here somewhere?
U of R.
U of R.
In the 1940s?
Oh my
That's cool.
heavens.
Or,
Well, he's 90,
50s?
and he probably got it when he was less than 30, so it's at least 60 years ago.
yeah.
Oh my heavens. Wow. Wonderful. Okay. What does that have to do with School 10?
They've
Well-
named
He's
it's
the-
named
Yeah.
after him.
After him.
It used to be School 37. They closed it, and they were using it for spare space for teaching, for training courses and whatnot. And then they reopened it as the Walter Cooper Academy, which is an expeditionary learning type school.
Okay.
And it's been open for 10 years maybe now.
Oh.
It
Something like
was open back when we got started fighting for 16,
Right.
so that was 6 years ago.
6 years. Oh my gosh, 6 years. Okay.
And so, anyways, getting back to the agenda for 16, one of the things that during the past week, I was hoping Harlan Oates would be here. He's the president of the 19th Ward Community Association.
Ireland.
Harlan, yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, that sounded good to them to have the membership. Of course, we've got to draw them in. I talked it over with Sandra Luke, who's the secretary at School 16. I got a hold of her today. And I was hoping she'd come here, but she must have got sidetracked on something. And Carla Roberts is still out of town, and so wasn't the vice principal.
Who is the vice principal?
I don't remember. They've got two right now, because one is for
7 and 8.
7 and 8, which of course is going to be no more, so I assume that one is looking for a job elsewhere, probably at 41 or something.
Now, John, let me get this straight. What is this you want the teachers to get with the 19th Ward Association?
Yeah, we're going to have the 19th Ward Community Association convention at 16. We're planning to. We've got to confirm it with the school, but we talked about it with
Mike?
with the principal when we saw her at the
Square Fair?
Square Fair, and at least she didn't. At the time we were just starting to think that far ahead, and she seemed happy with it then. But we'll have to confirm it.
Well, John, when would that be, the convention?
Oh, that's in November sometime. I don't remember.
Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually just before Thanksgiving. And the other thing, as far as the 19th Ward Community Association, that I kicked around with Harlan and with Diane, was trying to get them and getting some of the teachers involved with the candlelight dinners. Have you ever done the candlelight dinner? It's really nice, you know.
I know. I just can't manage.
Well,
so
your
much.
kids are still in school.
Can't manage so much.
That kind of thing.
Your kids are
Oh,
in school, is that right here?
Yeah.
That's explains.
And my house is chaotic.
well, I mean, you go to somebody else's house.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I could do that.
Yeah, see that? Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had one at our place because our place is chaotic. But usually you'll have 10 or so people somewhere.
6 to 10 probably.
And, you know, everybody brings a dish to pass, and generally the host makes the main part of the meal, and it's just a nice way just to get to know one another, walk into a house in the area, park your car on the street and not get mugged, you know, which is because the things that go through people's head who haven't ever stepped into the 19th
So
Ward.
is the candlelight dinner bringing people from? That's not the U of R thing. That's a bridge.
No,
thing.
that's a bridge thing. The candlelight dinner is the 19th Ward Community Association schedules them, and basically they gather names of people who are interested in going to them and people who are interested in hosting them, and then they
Mix and match.
But
mix
it's
and
all
match.
within the neighborhood.
All within
Okay,
the
I was
neighborhood.
just being too literal about your not knowing that you can park without being mugged. Thinking, who are you talking about?
Well, if you extended
Outside the
that to the
neighborhood.
teachers,
Right.
so if the teachers
Right.
sign up as a member of the 19th Ward, then they'd be eligible for that without living in the ward necessarily.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, along those lines, you were at my friend Dawn's house across the street from School 16.
Yeah.
I mean, we could host some things there. She's very open to, like, even if she's not around, using her space. You know, and she's got her downstairs is kind of nice, and the outside part is even nicer than it was when we were there. You know.
Yeah. So that,
We
you
could
know,
invite
that's
teachers over
that's
for
one
happy
sort of
hour,
thing
like,
that would be
after
nice
school.
to do to get some bonds between teachers and.
We could host like an after-school happy hour.
Well, now, this is teachers coming in not knowing the community or the students or anybody.
Most of them are from, you know, out in the burbs.
Well, they would know the kids.
But
We could
yeah,
get like Andrea and Paula, and maybe if there are a couple others like critical, you know, to start to introduce.
Yeah. And
Well, Joan lives in the ward somewhere, and so does the other 6th grade teacher,
Joan, who's Joan?
Cowles. Pretty sure
There was another woman, Barb, or who was the woman that used to come to the meetings? And Brenda,
Brenda Driscoll.
Oh, Brenda Driscoll.
did she retire?
I think she's probably out. I don't know if she broke a hip or she had a pretty nasty fall, is the last thing I heard.
Was she at 16
She was
school?
at
Or was
16.
she
She
in
was at
another school?
16, and she moved to another school.
Okay, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But she was kind of looking forward to finishing up at 16, but I don't know how she's going to recover from this latest.
but they've never done anything or to bring in the teachers kind of in a nice social setting. Is that right?
Well, I don't know. Somebody may have done it, but it's not something that I've heard of. You know, they at various times, depending on who was running the conventions and stuff, they may or may not have invited teachers.
Probably not.
I think Jackie said that she had for something, and I don't recall if it was the convention or Square Fair or what. But, well, yeah, it was inviting teachers and schools to participate in the parade. You know, But sometimes the people who are organizing things forget to do that.
In the days of Mary Thomas, who was the principal before the most recent set, she lives in the ward. And I mean, she still does.
Does she live at Inglewood? Or that's a different Mary Thomas. I had this whole confusion. Because there's 2 Mary Thomases in the neighborhood, right?
There could be. I only know one.
Yeah,
Anyway.
there's
one on Inglewood that's not that.
right now Ernestine Brown lives over on Inglewood. I don't know where, and I don't have her phone number. She's the parent coordinator for School 16 that we really need to try.
What's her
to-
name again?
Ernestine Brown.
And you know Wendy Spraggins White?
Yes.
She lives.
She's a 6th grade teacher.
Okay, yeah, and she lives on Irvine Heights or whatever, one of those, the nice one.
Yeah.
Get them mixed up.
So what you're saying is we need, well, can we get a listing of these teachers and the address and send them an invitation?
Well, we can send stuff. The problem right now in the summer is that none of them are not all of them are checking their email on the school server or whatever. But I asked Secretary over at 16 to see if she could get Ernestine to send me her phone number or something so we can be in touch on some of these issues. So that's one of the things that the candlelight dinners, and
Now,
the
John,
membership.
would somebody from this committee try to organize not organize the teachers, but organize the names so they can invite them?
Yeah, we can, I think that what we need to do is get the principal to encourage them, like we had real nice turn. I don't know, did you come by the table at Square Fair? Yeah. And we had the principal and at least half a dozen teachers there for a good chunk of the day. And, the teachers were encouraged to come to the thing.
I'm lying. I did not even come to Square Fair. I ended up. I volunteered, drove somebody to Cincinnati.
Okay.
For another cause.
Okay, well.
At the last minute. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
we
intended to come
had
through.
gotten the robotics crew from Wilson to walk in the parade, hauling one of their robots, and that drew a lot of people to the table.
That's cool.
And they came and set things up. We had 4 tables there, and so we had a nice turnout, and the teachers got to show a lot of people. We had pictures from the interior of the school, and that seemed to keep everybody.
Are we going to have anything to show people? Like, people say, well, School 16 is opening, but are we planning anything for the opening?
Well, that's the thing. We did get a, I don't know if I've got them with me, but we had a list of, that people signed up for
This is to have
going on a tour.
What we hoped could happen is before the school opened, we could have the time when we could have people have guided tours.
Well, do we know that we're going to have this?
Yeah, it's going to be possible. I haven't nailed down a date yet. Mike Schmidt said that things are on schedule.
That's encouraging.
Yeah,
So,
that is.
Very
yeah.
Would it be more realistic though to maybe try to do it like a week into school or 2 weeks?
Yeah, I
in?
think it's probably
Or
going
maybe
to be.
even like have a community component to their curriculum night when they're staying late anyway for open house or usually there's a September.
Yeah, it'd be nice to probably let them find out what's in the school before they have to sound like they know what's in there. But
Well, it was supposed to be ready 1st of August for the teachers to move in.
You think that's on time for that?
I don't think
That'd be
so.
it's
exciting.
going to be more like mid-August, I think. But
Mike Smith said everything was on time, but you don't think so.
yeah, well, it depends on just what time gets more and more firmed up as you approach that
So
time.
you think maybe the 15th of August?
Well, yeah, I think they may. Yes, I mean they're doing a lot of cleanup stuff right now. If you go by there, they've got put new sidewalks in, and they've retarred the street where there's the bump out for the buses, and so it's they're starting. I think they're going to be
John,
seeding pretty soon.
One lady that lives in the neighborhood said to me, "Oh goodness, the school is opening. That means all those papers that the kids throw around."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I didn't say anything, but I'm like, look, it took us all this time, to get it. But how? I mean, I don't want them to get on the kids. Do they have barrels if the kids can throw the papers in?
We're supposed to take them home.
No, I mean, scraps and stuff. I think that's what you meant.
Well, we'll have to have
Those
a
probably stay.
wastebasket committee started up.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe this is what people think sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean there are some people who probably have enjoyed not having the
Yes, I
the
think-
noise from the
Right.
school,
Right.
but that noise is your
It's our children.
that quietness is your community dying,
Yes,
folks.
right.
Exactly.
Exactly. I agree, but I was trying, how about inviting the neighbors so that they would not be on the other side,
Oh yeah, that's a good point
Well,
too.
I'm willing to ask, would you guys like to co-host a open house at Dawn's house the first Friday that school starts and invite teachers and neighbors
Now,
to come through?
Where's,
But
where's Dawn's house?
directly across from the school,
Oh,
like
sure.
right there.
Dawn's
Is
house.
it,
So
on-
that-
is
so
it
the
at
teachers
the
wouldn't
corner
have
or
to
it's
drive
one
anywhere. They
down
could
from the
walk over and
corner?
then go home.
Dawn's house.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I would come.
Which corner is it on? If you're
Like,
approaching the school's right in front of you on Aberdeen.
It's
you know,
on
like
the
where
north
we used to
side
go
of
for
the park.
bathrooms, like when the square fair was, like sort of to, like if you're facing the school slightly to the right.
Yeah, where the library is.
Yeah.
Library one.
Yeah. So directly across the street, directly across Post,
Oh, okay.
on the corner of Post and
Yeah.
Aberdeen School,
Oh, okay.
like right there.
Because that's got an empty
she's
lot
got
beside
a-
it too.
Yeah, further down on.
Further towards Arnett.
Is the immediate
Yeah.
next
Is
door
it the
is
meeting
empty
this or
lot?
maybe this next
I think
one?
it might
It
be.
might be two
I think
lots
she
in
has a
there.
house next to her, but she's got a porch and a yard, and
And when would we have the open house?
Well, what I'm proposing is the first Friday that school is open, have a happy hour immediately after school lets out for the teachers to come over and mingle. And I don't think probably a lot of people won't come because people want to go home.
For teachers and neighbors, is that the vote?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm
How
thinking.
how many people we've got what 40 teachers or something like that?
It's not going to get overrun. I just know from experience
If you get three,
wouldn't
if you
be.
get five, you'll be happy.
it's not going to be a problem. I just know.
Right.
And she has a yard, so unless it's a thunderstorm, it could be a beautiful day. And if it's a thunderstorm, we could delay it until the following Friday. We could
Yeah.
do it that way. We could say,
Yeah, I think that having something like that, we'll probably have to think about talking with the folks who've been doing the candlelight dinners, and it would require, kind of significantly. I mean, you'd want to have enough.
Those are February, and so
Are those February or? Yeah, it could be.
it's not in the fall.
No,
No, until when I'm away, no. 'cause I
that's
don't
when
know
you're away. Okay,
pretty well.
we're not doing that on purpose,
No.
you know.
I think, see, people know the school's going to open, but they don't, it's like they're waiting for something to happen. I think this is what,
Yeah, well, we'll have, and another thing is when the teachers come to the convention, we can again invite people from the community to come to some event at the school if they want to have some sort of Christmas play or something that that would be an opportunity for the community to come in.
but John, we're not going to have any after-school stuff for the kids because of this conflict with this
No,
other
we'll have
group.
Quad A.
You'll have Quad A, which theoretically could have all the kids staying after.
Okay, but does Quad A include athletics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah, it's a mixture of things.
who's in charge of that?
Well, Adam McFadden is the head of the program right now, but they get
Adam.
Adam McFadden, who's he's the Southwest.
Yeah, I'm aware. I know who he is.
Yeah,
But
can't miss Adam.
no. Is there anybody else? Because he's.
Oh yeah, he's
an
just
organization.
the head of it. It's an organization, and
This is
they-
Quad 8.
Quad A.
A is an apple.
Yes, and he gave a presentation to us at one of the meetings at Flint Street, which you probably didn't make it. But I'll send you the link to it because he gave a nice description of what the program was.
Now, I'm coming to stuff like this. I never heard of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I hadn't either until I got going with this stuff.
But that's the group that's coming after. Women. They're coming after school. to the
After
community
school,
center.
the Quad A starts up, and kids can stay until 6:30 or something like that. It's 3 hours
It's
of
late.
extra time that they get to play and learn and work
Somebody
on homework.
supervises this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Quad 8 people.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Some of whom are teachers,
Some are home ec teachers.
are teachers.
Some are the teachers that stay after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's a excellent program from what I can gather.
Do they put out a flyer that we could distribute? So
Well, they
people would
do-
know about it?
Well, they do that at the school.
It's for the kids at the
Mm-hmm.
school.
I mean, the neighbors would know what was happening?
We don't really need to know, but
Well,
Well, I
it's
just
it's
thought-
it's one of the things that maybe we should think about having the school put on some tutorials of here's one of the things going on at school 16, and this is one good reason for you to keep 16 in mind for your kids or your grandkids, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well, do they have a student newspaper?
at
I mean,
16.
yeah. I
I
don't know.
haven't seen one, which doesn't really mean much.
Well, maybe that's not the thing. But I mean, that way the students would
Well, for an
participate.
elementary school, it'd be
It's kind of
unusual.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would take and it only goes up to 6th grade, doesn't it?
Right.
It includes 6th grade, though.
Correct.
But they'd be old enough to do it, but they'd have to have a teacher that was willing to do it.
Yeah, well,
I was just thinking if the students were involved, it makes it.
but one of the things that we have, and this is something we should make sure that we make the teachers aware, is Jackie, you're a member of the association, right? You get all this information from Jackie Farrell that tells you all the things going on in the neighborhood, and if she had something put together by Carla or one of the teachers that might have the job of community relations. That's something that could go into the 19th Ward newsletter, and
You could run that the way the district runs the good news items.
yeah, and if you do it, through the association, people may be a little more apt to not see it as school propaganda. But
I think that's a good idea.
yeah.
Because otherwise I think the school is a separate entity and we're all contributing to it.
Yeah.
And especially now is the time, I would think, to start, when people are interested, they know it's been renovated. And when you read that article, it's the one I was, about all the other schools that opened and closed, it's like a miracle. John, I hope you're listening. And you don't know of it, like a neighbor doesn't have a kid. You're not really connected. At least that's my experience.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, I used to be over on Penhurst, and then we moved over to Melrose in '88, and I would hear a lot of racket. I'd hear it if I was outside.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was the buses loading
Right.
in the afternoon. And I wonder, what the heck? Is there a police raid somewhere? What's making all that
She's
noise?
retired now. The woman who was the voice.
Yeah?
Yeah, because she went to be a secretary or in the office of the other school that was in 16, Montessori.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd see her whenever I was there for 16, and she said she was retiring. I said, "Well, we need your voice."
Well,
Well, she would announce the buses,
Oh,
and it
oh.
would go over the loudspeaker.
And that's what you heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
2 blocks away.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm sure you could hear it from Wilson High.
But
Yeah.
we're still going to get a lot of buses coming in.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. If we get more local kids going, we'll maybe get fewer buses. But,
I don't know that we'll get more local kids without buses.
yeah, it's
right.
the only thing that the thing that we should be probably working on right now for rec center sort of thing is trying to get something to keep it open during the summer. For a rec center in the summer,
City
so
rec.
that you get a bunch of kids, especially young kids that might at some point be looking at signing up maybe the following year for school 16.
But isn't this where I kept thinking City Rec could do it? Now that wouldn't interfere with the other program in the summer.
No, in the summer it wouldn't interfere with the program, and maybe, if we work with some of the city council members, and talk with Lovely Warren and talk about trying to take full advantage of pushing towards neighborhood schools and having a draw such as a rec center at the school
John,
would be positive.
When I worked for City Rec, which is 100 years ago, the city council really had nothing to do with it. Maybe that's all changed, I mean, it was City Rec really ran an independent thing.
But they get funded by the city council.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. But I mean, they kind of let them do their thing.
They may just not have seen the levers working at that
Probably
level.
didn't. Was young, didn't notice. But
So, if somebody said to Eric Rose, gee, you've got an extra $30,000 to run the center for the summer, we would look at hiring a couple of people for
and where
2
would the
months.
money come from again?
That's the city council taking it from one pocket and putting it in the other.
I see. Okay.
Everything, there are hundreds of people always banging on their door and saying, we'd like to see this advance or this, and it's a competition.
Have you been over to that school? I think it's 35, but don't quote me. It's a man's name, and they renovated the whole building. And it's where they had some shooting a while ago, like 2 years ago. Well, anyways, that school, I went there one time for another event, and the whole thing was very well run. And it was I don't know what you call it, but see if I can find out where they're, because sometimes if people have something up and running, we could at least look at what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did they have? They have a community center there?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
It's over on Webster. I think it's Webster.
33
Oh,
school.
that's it.
That's the Ryan Center.
The Ryan Center.
And there's a library and a rec center, and it's been integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great model.
Yes. Well, we've got a library here. I know it's not the same because I remember it. But could we not take some of their ideas? That's what I
That's
was
what's
thinking.
been.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, 16 does a project fair.
Maybe they're already doing
19
it.
does a project fair.
Project Fair.
Yeah. So kids do projects, at least 5th and 6th grade. They present those. There's other exhibits. A bunch of different community organizations go there. The 19th Ward Association's gone there
Where is it they go?
at the school.
Oh,
So 16's
they
been
ran it
across
when I was
town.
here. They had that project fair when they were still on Post Avenue.
Yep, I went to one.
so what you're suggesting is start it up again, right?
Well, it hasn't stopped.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have.
they
I'm
still
saying,
did it?
I'm saying that happens. That
Yeah,
just
we
happens.
went there this spring to show the posters of what the school was going to look like, because a lot of the folks, some of the teachers hadn't seen any of that yet.
When do they have this project fair usually? About?
What was it?
In the spring.
Oh, but
April, May, something.
Well, it's before Xerox has its science day at Xerox.
so they don't have it like at the beginning of school year,
No, because you have to work on a project.
all year.
Yeah, for a chunk of the year anyway.
So that would be up to the principal to bring that up?
They do it.
Well, they
He's
just
giving
do
it as
it.
an example of ongoing community engagement and things at the school.
Yeah, this is something that if you got more of the community to go in and look at it, because I don't think they were overrun by visitors, as I recall.
No, and then that's one of the things where we don't do it in the update, 19 update that Jackie sent out. And so if we got in that stream,
Hmm.
it would improve the community.
Jackie already is doing this with the publication every month.
Yeah, and this hasn't been given to her to put on there.
But it could be.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we also need to, because I think one of the things we've got to really concentrate on is how do we make use of what happens that's good at 16 to help the other schools, and
You mean like 2010?
like 10 or 44, just to get maybe some friendly rivalry on things, or there are things that are going on at those schools also that would be great to talk up in the
Could the project fair do that?
I'm sure that some of the others,
No, you pretty much booked the whole building with their project.
yeah.
Oh,
But just that if you're doing something with 16, then that gives you a chance to talk about what some of the other schools are doing, and if we get teachers from 16 coming on at the convention, maybe we can talk some of the other teachers from 44 or 29 or 10 or whatever to stop in and.
so it could come up at the convention, which is going to be, you said, around Thanksgiving?
Yeah. And let's see, I haven't heard anything new from School 19. Joe Baldino, I did hear back from him. He was traveling or something. Couldn't make it this month, but he's got it down for August. And he's very interested in staying involved with the committee, he said. 41, we know that it's closing and reopening, and the things, as far as I know, are going as well as they're going to go. We'll see whether it really is a big success or what, but it's they had to lay off half their teachers, so that's why some of the schools have lost teachers to 41. I'm sure that the district is trying to make it a success, because it'd be nice to have a few successes of that type.
I just don't see it having a shot.
You don't see what?
Having a shot of actually improving stuff. You're going to change 50% of the teachers. You got no continuity. Got people not with working relationships.
This is at school 41?
Yeah, well, anything that gets in receivership. The state rules are you change over the principal, you change over 50% of the teachers, and we expect everybody to get along. But are you kidding me?
How could they? How could they?
Yeah, the only thing they've got going for them is about 80% of the students stayed. But you know, if you had 80% of the students, and the principal is also there, the people who are trying to put the morale or the, you know, the esprit de corps in the system, but you've changed all of those people also, so you're starting off with different set of people at the top. Boy, it's going
What
to be,
is the point of a community school then? I mean, that's what it
Well,
would
that's
be.
got nothing to do with being a community
In
school.
receivership, that's a separate issue.
Right. And you could be either a community school or not a community school, depending where the kids come from.
it's supposed to become a community school in the process of
according
going
to the
through
state.
this, but
Okay.
What does the state say here?
The state definition of a community school has nothing to do with being neighborhood
Oh,
anchored
right.
at all. It's a definition that has to do with wraparound services, social service emphasis, extended hours. It's, in my view, it's kind of a deficit model that it is trying to address. And usually there's a lot of resources being spent for titles and partners, you know, external to the community. So it's really hypocritical, in my view, what the state is doing with community school definition.
Really? Well, what's the point?
Money, privatization, you know, these theories. Some people are true believers in the reform model that we know doesn't work, that's described in that DNC article.
That's the reform.
And yet the DNC says they're going to come up with solutions. You know, I mean, it's frustrating.
I see. I don't know how. It's frustrating to keep working for something that is.
But it makes a difference. Like, what's being done here is the real deal. That's real community school, real neighborhood community school. But it's just important to know, like, when you hear all this rhetoric flying around, what the rhetoric is.
Right.
It's not-
But keep going with this real work and be encouraged. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Oh man, I don't know how you do it.
I'm not doing it.
oh yes, you
Yes, you are, Mary. You have to go to all those meetings.
No, I don't.
You
Not
don't?
anymore.
You don't go to any meetings?
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Yeah, you missed me, you know. Yeah, so
What is Oasis? That's what's our friend who is not here.
Right.
who's this?
Oasis.
Oasis, yes, that would have been Eleanor who would have reported on that.
Eleanor.
And I haven't heard anything from, well, the only thing I've heard relative to Wilson is at the last meeting, Mike Schmidt indicated that for the robotics program at Wilson, for a while there we were talking about looking for a new place for the
Yeah.
shop to go. From what Mike said, they're going to be able to shuffle things around over. I guess for a while the kids may be doing some of their early planning meetings. I don't know if it was going to be at Marshall or some other, perhaps Jefferson, was it? But that the shop facilities would stay over at
Wilson?
yeah,
Oh,
at where it is now.
Is it on Flint Street?
No, the shops are over on. What is where Diane Watkins?
Edison,
Edison,
Colfax, and
yeah.
Lexington, Colfax.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they were going to they're doing some renovations there, which was why it was going to be an upheaval. But they've been able to schedule it so that when they get to the point that they're having to cut metal, that they'll be back over there. So they don't have to move and find another facility this fall. And it sounds like when the Phase 3 renovations take place over at Wilson, that they're planning on building some facility to house the shop. That's a lot of space for the shop, but that'd be great. So it looks like we don't have to relocate the shop somewhere. And what we learned from talking to Stacia Goldberg, who is the secretary over at 44. I talked to her this afternoon, and I guess the vice principal, Mr. Freeman, is in, some weeks not. They've had 3 other administrators that kind of come, that spell for the fact that Donna isn't there right now. And apparently Donna is, I think she's back on her feet and interested in getting back to school, but it's not a done deal that they'll rehire her for that school. I'm
She's
not
been
sure.
sick or something?
Pardon?
She's been ill?
Yeah, she was ill for a good chunk of the spring, and she hasn't been answering her emails and stuff because she's technically not the principal right now unless they rehire her, basically.
And the vice principal is someone called Freeman?
Yeah, I don't think it's his first name.
But he comes from down in the city?
No,
He's been there all
3-4
along.
years.
Yeah.
More than
Rendell
that, I think.
Rendell
Been
Freeman,
there a
I
good
think.
while.
Who is these other names? Karen Lair and kindergarten, is that?
Yeah, Karen Lahr is, she's been here at some of the meetings, and Grace Bilodeau is pre-K. She was the last one that was at our meeting last month. And Stacia Goldberg is the secretary. She started in the spring, or winter, January sometime. And sounds like we've lost the music teacher, which is unfortunate. She was a sweetheart. I forget what her name was, but
The librarian, that's too bad.
librarian, she was another one. I think the librarian may have gone up to 41. At least 1 or 2 of them probably got. I can understand they're wanting to jump ship, go to 41, and have.
After the latest shenanigans, I mean,
Oh, God.
it's ridiculous.
But
Although I would be reluctant to go to a receivership school if I had other choices. I mean, I just don't believe in the turnover model helps.
no, I don't
No,
either.
but they're starting a whole new track. It's the same repeated failure. I mean, but they're starting from square one, so they've got a good run of 10 years to mess up, to be labeled again.
This is 41.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very good.
How are we doing it on time? I guess we don't have to worry.
20 days.
I want to tell you something off the camera.
Okay.
Not so new anymore.
Well, she's been there a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least a couple of years, yeah.
And what's her name, Mary?
Barbara Dean Williams.
Barbara. Oh, yeah, she used to be in another school system.
Robert Dean Williams.
She's
Barbara
in Greece.
Dean
Mm-hmm.
Williams.
Yep.
But
I don't
Dean
have.
with an E
I
on
don't.
the end.
You know, I'm not on the board anymore, so I don't have any extra information or anything like that. But I do know that Valerie had asked me about if I had heard about that.
Is Valerie retired or?
Yeah, and this past year she was working in school 9
Ah,
kindergarten.
yeah, because I when I was talking to the secretary at 44, I found out that Valerie had retired last year or something.
Yeah.
but she's still going, helping out.
Yes, a lot of teachers will come out of retirement and work. You know,
You mean as volunteers?
no.
No. It's called double dipping some places, but
Oh.
it's not. It's legal.
She's
She wouldn't
always
work.
getting retirement. But
They don't get a lot of salary when they come back.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not like they resume their salary level or anything like that. They get pretty low pay.
Yeah. No, it's perfectly
But they do get
acceptable.
paid, and it's
yeah.
great. I mean, Valerie's glad to hear that she would be teaching anywhere. It's great.
Oh yeah, she's a top notch from everything I've heard.
So let me get it straight. So you're off the school board completely?
Mm-hmm.
How awful.
Yeah, she.
You can't be half on.
Yeah.
No,
I think they're sending us home.
I think so.
Well, I'm glad you came, Mary.
Yeah.
So are there action items here at all?
Well, get back in touch with. I guess John and I are going to have to follow up with Harlan Oates and Diane Watkins and start planning for the convention. And the other thing we've got to do is I need to get a date for when the tours through 16 could happen, so that we can start scheduling, send notes out to all the people who have signed up, and also talk up the tours so that more people who hadn't.
The other thing I'd like to tie into the tour is put a push on getting people to volunteer.
Yeah.
And so I think if you actually had teachers saying, here's what I would like to volunteer for, here's what you're going to do, would be helpful. And have Ricky come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming he's still in the same job.
Okay. Well, let me know about the tours. Will you put that on the email, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, with a little luck,
Maybe I'll.
Do you want me to
Eleanor
ask
will.
John? Do you have reservations about the idea of the little happy hour idea?
No, I think
Do you want me to
that.
pursue
That would be fun.
pursue
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
It would be nice to have a fun thing.
I think so.
Yeah. And besides that, it sounds like the teachers need to know. I mean, they don't know each other even. Maybe.
You could invite Ricky to that too. And start planting those seeds, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like it's something that, if you do it here, then you jeopardize there. The more the better, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think I better get on home.
Okay.
I'll talk to my friend Dawn about it. And
Okay.
Well, thank you very
John,
much,
let me
folks.
know.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.